Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. In the rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence, where national interests intersect with corporate ambition, can a massive financial investment truly be a win-win for everyone? Or does it inevitably create new forms of dependency and control? We're diving into a fascinating development in the chip industry, NVIDIA's recent $5 billion investment in Intel. Now, this isn't just about the money. It feels like a masterclass in strategic maneuvering packed with political savvy, crucial technological implications, and maybe some simmering questions about market dynamics. We're going to unpack the core arguments behind this partnership, delve into its technological backbone, and then critically challenge some of the assumptions that might seem obvious at first glance. Ultimately, we'll consider the broader impact on competition and innovation in the crucial AI sector and what it really means for you, the consumer, and the industry at large. So let's start with the big splash, the announcement itself. On September 18th, 2025, NVIDIA announced it would purchase $5 billion worth of Intel shares. Now, this wasn't a small gesture. It represented roughly, a 4 or 5% stake in Intel at a share price of $23.28. The market's reaction was immediate and, frankly, pretty electrifying. Intel's shares soared by as much as 28% practically overnight, and even NVIDIA's shares climbed about 3.5%. This wasn't just a financial transaction, was it? It felt like a carefully choreographed event, with multiple layers.
Absolutely. And what's truly fascinating here, maybe often overlooked if you just glance at the headlines, is the timing. This announcement came less than a month after the U.S. government, under President Donald Trump, took an approximate 10% stake in Intel.
Right.
So when NVIDIA makes its move, it looks less like a simple investment and maybe more like a shrewd alignment with U.S. industrial policy. It essentially provides NVIDIA with a significant degree of cover with regulators and Congress, playing directly into the hands of a White House that had effectively designated Intel a national project. And the market surge. It added nearly $5 billion to the value of Uncle Sam's initial stake, essentially giving the government an immediate, very public return on investment.
And you could almost feel the celebratory atmosphere surrounding this deal. There were even reports of Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's CEO, being caught on a hot mic, joking about an excellent 1912 cognac he'd shared with Britain's King Charles and President Trump the night before the announcement. It really underscores the high-stakes, high-level nature of these discussions and the influential circles involved in shaping the future of AI. It's also a powerful narrative shift for Intel, too, isn't it?
Precisely. This move provides Intel with a much-needed narrative turnaround. For years, many in the industry saw Intel as, struggling to keep pace in the AI era, particularly against nimble rivals like ARM and AMD. This investment injects a huge dose of confidence.
Sure.
However, it's not all champagne and high fives. The Economist article itself uses a very pointed term: incestuousness.
Ooh, strong word.
Yeah, to describe the deepening interconnectedness of the AI industry. This isn't just about cozying up to power. It raises a crucial question. Is this simply clever strategy, or does it present hidden risks? Risks both for the companies involved and for the broader market in the long run. Because when the biggest players get this close, it can feel less like collaboration and more like maybe a consolidation of power.
Incestuousness definitely grabs your attention. It implies a certain closeness that might stifle external growth, perhaps. But okay, beyond the financial investment and the political optics, which are clearly significant, this deal has a crucial technological backbone. NVIDIA and Intel have agreed to jointly develop multiple generations of chips for both data centers and personal computers. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? Transforming what looks like a financial and political play into a tangible technical collaboration. It feels like the real power of this deal lies in the silicon, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. This is where the control of the socket comes into play, and it's a huge strategic chess move. The pact will hardwire NVLink, which is NVIDIA's high-speed chip-to-chip interconnect, essentially the superhighway for data between different processors into new Intel CPUs and PC SoCs, and also their data center designs. Now, for those less familiar, a CPU is your central processing unit, the brain of any computer. And SoC, or System on Chip, is like a mini computer on a single chip, found as everything from your smartphone to high-end laptops.
Got it.
And by 86 processors refers to the dominant architecture Intel and AMD use, by integrating NVLink directly into these. NVIDIA effectively positions itself as the default traffic cop for how AI accelerated their GPUs talk to these foundational x86 processors.
The traffic cop.
Yeah, it's a critical architectural decision for future systems, giving them immense control over data flow.
Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's CEO, certainly highlighted a substantial market opportunity here. He suggested that these integrated Intel CPUs plus NVIDIA GPU chiplets, which are smaller, modular pieces of a chip designed to work together, could redefine laptops and data centers. He's talking about a market potential of $25 billion to $50 billion annually. That's a staggering projection, enough to reshape entire segments of the computing world. But what's the real strategic implication here for everyone else?
The strategic implication is crystal clear, and it's powerful. By making NVLink a cross-company standard, NVIDIA is essentially raising the switching costs for anyone not in what you might call NVIDIA's club.
Okay, the NVIDIA club.
Right. It reinforces NVIDIA's position as a partner of choice in the AI world, effectively deciding who gets to plug in to this critical interconnect. Think of it like this. If you want to build a high-performance AI system, and the most efficient way for your components to talk to each other is through NVLink, and NVLink is now baked into Intel's core products, then you're heavily incentivized to stay within that NVIDIA Intel ecosystem.
Right.
This is what we call ecosystem gravity in action. It's designed to solidify NVIDIA's dominance and control over these key foundational components. It creates a powerful pull towards their technology, making it harder for rivals to compete with alternative solutions.
Okay, that ecosystem gravity sounds like a powerful force pulling the industry in one direction. But while the immediate benefits seem quite clear for both NVIDIA and Intel, it's crucial for us to add nuance and push back on some of the underlying assumptions, that might appear so positive on the surface. For instance, that concern about incestuousness isn't necessarily just about cross-holdings, which are common in the semiconductor industry. The real risk here, as some analysts are pointing out, is a form of gatekeeping. What does that truly mean for competitors?
Exactly. When we talk about gatekeeping, we're talking about NVIDIA potentially controlling access, timing, or features of NVLink in a way that could differ by partner. Imagine if a rival chipmaker wanted to integrate NVLink into their own products. If NVIDIA were to offer them less favorable terms, delayed access to specifications, or even a less performant version, compared to what Intel gets, that rival would face a de facto toll. This isn't a hypothetical risk. We've seen a cautionary template in NVIDIA's previous State Plus contracts with CoreWeave.
Oh, right, the CoreWeave deal.
Yeah, where NVIDIA owns 6.6% and entered into that massive $6.3 billion cloud computing deal. This could easily become an antitrust trigger in a market already wary of self-preferencing. The critical question for regulators and the industry is, will NVLink truly be a FRAND-like standard, meaning fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory, or will it be used as a proprietary advantage?
Creating a kind of walled garden.
Essentially, yeah, a proprietary advantage for preferred partners.
And then there's what some are calling the foundry elephant in the room. This pact, for all its grand pronouncements, doesn't actually address one of the most critical issues for NVIDIA, its significant supply risk. Or, for that matter, Intel's current foundry gap. It feels like a glaring omission, especially given the political context.
It is a profound omission, particularly given the U.S. government's explicit policy drive to onshore bleeding-edge chip manufacturing. Despite this high-profile partnership, both Jensen Huang and Intel's Lip-Bu Tan publicly lauded TSMC, the Taiwanese contract chipmaker, on stage during the announcement.
Interesting. They praised TSMC.
They did. And critically, no commitment was made for NVIDIA to build any of its silicon at Intel's foundry, which is Intel's chip manufacturing arm.
Okay.
Politically, this is incredibly awkward for U.S. policy aimed at bringing crucial manufacturing capabilities back home. Commercially, it means NVIDIA's most critical constraint, its capacity reliance on TSMC, which is, a single point of failure in a geopolitical hotspot, remains completely unchanged.
Wow.
The bottleneck remains firmly in Taiwan for now, leaving that fundamental supply chain risk unaddressed.
That's a huge piece of the puzzle left out. And another point of caution involves those promising PC superstocks we mentioned, right? With that projected $25–50 billion total addressable market, or TAM. While that sounds incredible, there were no actual ship dates promised. Without concrete products in the market, isn't this really just positioning, sentiment building for OEM roadmaps maybe, rather than actual cash flow?
Absolutely.
It's a great story, but the product isn't there yet.
Exactly. It's a powerful statement of intent, and it certainly generates buzz and influences OEM original equipment manufacturer planning. But a TAM projection is just that, a projection of potential market size. It doesn't mean product readiness or yield rates or customer adoption. The engineering challenges to integrate NVIDIA's GPU chiplets with Intel's CPUs at that level are, well, they're immense. Without firm ship dates and demonstrated performance, this remains a strategic vision rather than a tangible revenue stream. It's crucial for listeners to understand the difference between an aspirational announcement and a product actually landing in your laptop or data center.
Okay, so if we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, the political angle cuts both ways. Having the U.S. government as an owner in Intel might offer a degree of shelter, but it also invites intense scrutiny, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We can anticipate pointed questions from Capitol Hill if future federal procurements appear to privilege the NVIDIA Intel stack. And this isn't just about the U.S. either. We can be sure that EU and UK regulators, who are increasingly vigilant about market concentration, will be asking whether NVLink truly is that FRAND-like standard fare, reasonable, and non-discriminatory, or if it acts as a club good solely for preferred partners.
Limiting innovation from outside.
Potentially, yes. This level of government entanglement, while offering protection, also means they're operating under a much brighter spotlight.
And this kind of alliance invariably leads to competitive blowback. Rivals aren't going to just sit idly by and watch NVIDIA and Intel solidify their position. First, we have AMD, a direct competitor in both CPU and GPU markets.
Right. AMD is expected to push its own tighter CPU-GPU coherence solutions, like their Infinity Fabric. This is their equivalent to NVLink, designed to facilitate high-speed communication between their own processors. They'll likely lean heavily on offering NVLink-free alternatives, highlighting open standards or their integrated platforms as a counter-narrative.
Trying to avoid that lock-in.
Exactly, striving to keep customers from being locked into the NVIDIA Intel ecosystem.
Then there's the rise of ARM x86 hybridity, which feels like a completely different architectural paradigm emerging. Indeed. We're seeing it in Microsoft or Qualcomm-style PC NPU's neural processing units, those specialized chips for AI tasks, and in ARM-based servers. These developments fundamentally challenge the seemingly dominant x86 plus NVIC story. ARM-main solutions offer power efficiency and design flexibility that can appeal to a different segment of the market, potentially creating entirely new computing paradigms that, bypass the NVIDIA Intel axis.
Interesting. And we can't forget the hyperscalers, the major cloud providers like Google, Amazon, Microsoft. They generally despise vendor lock-in above all else.
Yeah, that's a critical point. Hyperscalers thrive on flexibility and leverage.
Yeah.
They're highly likely to double down on developing their own in-house AI accelerators through the Google's TPUs or Amazon's Inferentia chips.
Right, their own silicon.
Exactly. To maintain control over their infrastructure and avoid being overly dependent on any single vendor, even one as dominant as NVIDIA. This deal, far from solidifying NVIDIA's position with them, might actually accelerate their efforts to diversify their supply chain and invest more in proprietary solutions. So what looks like a strengthening of a duopoly could inadvertently spur more internal innovation from the cloud giants.
So looking ahead, for those trying to cut through the noise and understand the true long-term impact of this partnership, what should you be watching for? We've put together a simple checklist, maybe, to help you track the real story here.
Okay, first, a really significant signal would be if any NVIDIA die tape-out at Intel Foundry. A die tape-out is the final design of a chip sent for manufacturing. Even a pilot run at Intel's mature nodes, which are older, more established manufacturing processes, would be a huge sign.
Why?
Well, it would show this relationship is deepening beyond just interconnects and financial optics. It would indicate a tangible commitment to Intel's manufacturing capabilities.
Second, pay very close attention to the NVLink licensing terms. This is your antitrust signal right there.
Precisely. Are they truly open and symmetric for all potential partners? Or are they bespoke and exclusive, giving Intel and preferred partners preferential treatment? If rivals face higher costs, delayed access, or restricted features for NVLink, then you have clear evidence of club good behavior, not an open standard.
That would be a huge red flag for competition and regulators.
Exactly.
Third, track the product timing. When do we actually see the first x86 plus RTX chiplet PC demos? And when do those data center CPU plus NVLink boards actually land at big clouds, translating all these promises into real-world deployments and revenue?
Right. The announcements are one thing, but actual shippable products are another. Without tangible products moving into the market and generating cash flow, those $25–50 billion TAM projections remain largely theoretical. We need to see concrete delivery and adoption to validate the long-term vision.
Finally, we need to track the policy entanglement. Look for procurement patterns after the U.S. government's equity stake.
And any Buy American adjacent nudges that might favor the NVIDIA-Intel duo in federal contracts or other strategic initiatives, these political signals will be just as telling as the technical ones, revealing the true intent behind the government's involvement.
The bottom line is that NVIDIA's investment is both politically shrewd and, well, deeply technically self-serving. It effectively wraps U.S. industrial policy around NVIDIA's interconnect standard and gives Intel a badly needed narrative turn to rebuild market confidence.
Right.
But the real test isn't the $5 billion headline. It's whether this produces shippable, open, high-bandwidth CPU to GPU systems without simply recreating a new, potentially stifling form of platform lock-in. Right now, it's brilliant chess. But the endgame hinges on genuine openness and shared progress, not just clever optics and consolidated power. This deal, while celebrated, forces us to question if we're truly fostering innovation or inadvertently building new walls in the AI landscape.
This partnership really is a masterclass in strategic positioning, blending technology, finance, and geopolitics. It leaves us with a provocative thought. When the world's most critical technologies become so intertwined with national interest and corporate ambition, what is the true cost of collaboration? Are we setting the stage for unprecedented innovation, or are we inadvertently paving the way for a concentrated power structure that could stifle the very competition it claims to foster? It's a tension that will continue to shape the AI landscape for years to come, and one that we, as informed observers, must continue to scrutinize. Thanks for listening. Follow us for daily insights into world affairs, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.